Zoning Commission, public hearing at 5:30, Dare County Courthouse. We have a sign-in sheet, if you folks would like to sign in with your name, address, and phone number, if you want to know who was here. And next thing I have a public comment sheet. If you folks want to write down your comments, questions, critiques, that's fine.
Okay.
If you want to do it verbally, we'll just probably write them down and transcribe them and be part of our final report. If that's okay. So does anybody want these to write down questions, comments?
I don't want to write down, I want to
Or
verbalize it.
Okay, that's fine. You find any of these in?
Do we have to sign in order to speak?
No, just, I just did that just in case we want to know who was here or whatever.
You got to swear us in?
Not on board.
I'm just checking.
So does anyone want to start first then with the comments or whatever? We'll just take notes and what do you folks say?
Well, I can start first. Well, I've just got a general comment that I checked last week and I checked this morning at the county clerk's office, and I went to the airport, asked the airport manager for a copy of the proposed zoning ordinance, and I couldn't get a copy. So I'm thinking that in order to intelligently talk about this zoning ordinance, people, and not just me, anybody should have been given a copy of this, that they could do their own research, form their own questions in hopes to get answers. So, I mean, I'm fine with you guys doing this hearing, but I wish that before you make a decision, now that we have a copy of these, that you'll hold another hearing, so we can have intelligent, written down, researched questions to ask and hopefully get answers to.
Okay.
I'm just hoping that you will do that prior to recommending anything to the county.
What specifically are we talking about doing in the proposal? What,
Basically,
are we zoning the airport as the premises is now, or are we zoning a radius? Are we zoning for height? Are we zoning gun ownership within the zoned area? Or are we zoning hunting rights? What are we zoning?
We're doing the same thing that was done in 1974. The FAA guidelines, I've got 20 pages, you folks are more than welcome to read them. And basically says, like we're talking about hunting, height of structures, on and on and on. So anybody's been since 1970 when the airport opened, they were subject to FAA guidelines.
Okay.
And basically, it's almost a 2-mile circle, but if you read the fine print on some of them, it goes up to 20,000 feet. The existing FAA guidelines.
Okay. What, do you know, is there a statute number or FAA guideline number on that?
Yeah, let's see. It's 620 LIS 25, the Airport Zoning Act. And that includes,
16 LIS 25?
yeah, 620 ILS 25.
ISCS.
That's the state statute though, right?
This is the Illinois state statute.
Okay, so what's the federal?
The federal, like I said, it's I could probably read the website easier. Federal regulations, I'm not sure. What website? What time do they do?
It's down here at the bottom.
Bottom end.
It would be, it's a long one.
FAA what?
It's like ECFR gov CGI bin text I. It's a long one.
Is there a
you did
code?
not get this one. I sent you the Illinois one.
Illinois, isn't it? Is there a code or something at the top?
Yeah, it's I don't know quite what it is, but it's the 77.1.
Yeah, there you go. Just got
Is where it's,
Just another one.
yeah, it's not nearly as bad as the one I found. Okay, yeah. looks like they are all in the 77s.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, go to the FAA website, look for airport.
Code of Federal
Stuff.
Regulations.
Okay.
You gonna give an address there?
What was that one you just had as a much shorter address for them to, this is the state one. Did you want the state one?
The CFR.
The CFR one? You want that one?
You got the number of the CFR,
CFR is,
the number of the regulation?
right there's the web page, and then it's part 77.
Okay. And that is actually here somewhere, but not the web address. That is part 77.9 of the Code of Federal Regulations.
Right.
Okay.
I would share, John's sentiments and allowing us to research what we're actually going to zone and what requirements are going to be in place before we recommend anything to the county board.
I have a question. Is what you're recommending any different than the state or the federal law that already exists?
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
Okay?
Okay,
So,
but
if we walk
that's
out-
general, but you know what? You can spell out a lot of that stuff in writing, what we are and are not going to do. You don't have to take it verbiage out of the federal regulation. Zoning is specific to the goals and wishes of people. Yeah.
But are
But
you
you're not.
expanding them?
No. Not aware of.
I myself, I don't want any hunting restrictions within that. I don't want any gun ownership restrictions within that. 2 miles, I don't know what it is, 2 miles or 1 mile or,
But is that already?
It's
that
already in place.
exists?
Right.
no, it doesn't, because we have not passed it.
No, it does in the federal
It's
regulations.
already-
It's nothing different
Well,
than the federal regulations.
Then I don't want zoning,
It's already there.
you gotta approve it at a county level though, and my recommendation is you don't approve it at a county level, if that's what it comes to. You see what I'm saying?
I do, but the problem is in 1974, these regulations took effect, just like the O'Hare Airport.
Okay.
Federal guidelines, state statutes, we talk about this all day long. And tomorrow, when it's owned by the county, those same regulations are still in place. If the county doesn't zone them, then the regulations are still in place. The only difference is, the county will be able to receive federal funding.
For what?
That's all we're talking about.
My recommendation is no zoning.
Okay, that's fine.
And for that reason,
That's fine.
I don't want to enter those guidelines.
You already are, I won't prolong this.
No, you're not. If you haven't done it already, you're not there.
It's already there.
Can I,
Yeah.
and
I wanna get them.
don't mean to interrupt, but I think he's somewhat correct. I mean, as it stands now, without doing any research, logic tells me that if enough residents decided they didn't want to be held by the FAA regulations, you can just shut the airport down, it wouldn't be held by them. But once you institute zoning, then you're held by the grant assurances for the 20 years after everything was built. Correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that how the Chicago mayor tore up that airport up there? He didn't borrow any money 20 years prior, he had no restrictions on the property anymore, and then after 9/11, he just brought in some bulldozers and tore it up. But if you institute zoning, and I'm not advocating for or against zoning, I would just appreciate the time to research, and especially the CFR involved. The restrictions that the federal government would put on it. I don't believe that they would enforce anything without county zoning unless the county asked them to. And I also, you know, in my personal opinion, if you're going to, and I know it's off the table, but I'm gonna say it anyway, if you're gonna zone, you should zone for wind turbines and high, cell towers and high power lines. But preferably no zoning, but hey,
Your zoning would, I think, encompass keeping those out. What you're saying is zoning other areas where they would be allowed. That's a different meeting.
Yeah.
As far as your concerns, Matt, I feel that if you take a VFR sectional, there's a big purple blob that covers our farm, your farm. We maybe have flown under wire as far as the grants we've already received. So in your mind, we don't have zoning, but yet federal government might be like, well, that's cute, you guys did get under radar.
Mhm.
But
Not
there's
anymore.
still grant assurances like he's referring to, and that was not 20 years ago. So
Right.
tearing it down, shutting it down is not an option.
Right.
Letting it go to pot, I think a lot of people's eyes isn't an option. We'd like to keep
Mhm.
it in a, you know, a well-maintained thing. But basically, this is just a very small hoop that we need to jump through. We're not trying to pull any fast ones as far as I'm concerned. But this is just, like I said, an oversight, I suppose you could say, that we were able to get these grants prior to this. It's like, oh, by the way, you guys forgot page 5 in 1974, that's actually zoned it.
Right.
Might be able to pull it down too.
So how
So
would you like to lost your ground prior to that?
that, like,
I'm still,
I don't
I'm
know.
still working against you on that. I don't, and I've tried to work with you. I'm writing letters to Washington,
like I said, I'm not trying to
well,
say that was right or wrong. I wasn't around for
there's
those
other
days,
people,
but
it's not a good feeling, and you don't, I'm totally against zoning, or zone countywide, like he's saying. I mean, it's one of the things that's gotta come in the future anyway, so.
But countywide zoning, it wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing.
No,
It depends
no, it
all
wouldn't.
upon how it is written.
Well, it would have helped these guys with this power thing
Yes.
now. But if you do, like you said, there's all these particulars that are in it.
And another thing I noticed, sorry, before you referred to this, when I'm asking that you would, no, item number 4, or item number 1, or 2, talk about 620 ILCS 40, and required to follow the guidelines, and no, it says the county has the power to adopt zoning, but nowhere have you acknowledged that you're required to have zoning prior to any improvements.
We've got a pretty good letter from somebody in Springfield saying just that, Mr. Young.
That you were required, why isn't it in here? That's the question.
That's why we're here.
But why isn't that statement number 7? Citing airport zoning, citing the County Airport Landing Field Act, 620 ILCS 40, the county is required to have zoning in order to construct any improvements. Okay. Sorry.
My name is Robert Vogt. I'm a citizen of the United States of America, probably one of the most bankrupt countries on the planet. Also a citizen, a resident of Illinois, already how many billions or millions of dollars in debt. I want to lay out some things. First of all, about the airport. Edgar County is the only county airport in Illinois that is known to have expanded in violation of Illinois for lack of zoning. Now, semantics here. You talk about federal zoning, talk all you want. You talk about state zoning, you talk about county zoning. But the issues here are the FAA and the IDOT, and Division of Aeronautics, sent their request to their chief counsel's office, and they came back and said, Edgar County has not zoned their airport. Therefore, no monies are coming this way. So if you believe differently, you should take this meeting to Springfield and argue with them. But the facts of the matter are, Springfield doesn't believe this county is zoned the airport. And that's why we're here. If you zone the airport, there's only one reason that could happen. It's because the airport wants to expand. It wants more federal money. No one's really talking about the expansion project, but I'll do that here in a minute. What happens when you zone? As soon as you affirm that you're zoned, then the next project will go into progress here. It'll go underway, and then for the next 20 years, Edgar County residents will be spending about $150,000 a year to maintain that airport, and they'll have no option but maintain that airport at that level. Because once you take state or federal money, you have a 20-year obligation to protect that investment. Make no mistake, there's no free monies regardless of what's been said. I've heard people say it's free, it's FAA federal money, it's all a gift. That's why Washington's bankrupt, that's why the state is bankrupt. But I will tell you this, 5% of that money comes from Edgar County. Another 5% comes from the state of Illinois. And 90% comes from the FAA funds. More or less, that's the new rules. Farming revenue. Mr. Ferris had his property taken from him when there was no county zoning in effect. This county violated the law. Let's just say it was an accident. But he lost the ground. Mr. Ferris fought to keep his land in eminent domain process. The eminent domain process was great, but apparently they forgot to look to see if it was against the law to invoke the eminent domain process. That happened in this county. I wouldn't be very happy if someone took my property. I want you to know, it wasn't an accident, at least in the last couple of years. Mr. Kraft, the Edgar County watchdogs, sent FOIAs to the airport asking under what authority the airport was operating, under what law. How long do you think it took to get an answer to that question? It was going to be never until Mr. Kraft took our airport to task in our local court system. And more than 2 years later, a local judge ordered Mark Issa to tell him what law under which this operated. First couple of sentences, read it. You have to have zoning before you can expand. I think that's why Mr. Kraft never got his FOIA answered. I think that's why he had to go to the court system to get an answer, because I believe everybody knew on that airport board and on the county board, as soon as that question was asked, they were caught. I don't know when this occurred, 20 years ago or 15 years ago, but in my mind, in the last 2 or 2.5 years or 3 years, people involved with this airport knew absolutely. The airport needs today a credit card machine to dispense fuel. This county could do that for $15,000 or $20,000. They don't want to do that. They'd rather kick in $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 on a project we don't really need, one we might want, but one we don't need. There's a difference between needs and wants. In my opinion, the residents should only support county-wide zoning action to protect all the residents against utility lines, wind turbine farms, things erected too close to housing, cell towers, even hog confinement facilities. That would affect everybody. It would make sense to zone the entire county. Right now, today, I don't believe there's a single person on the airport board, the airport advisory board, or the county board that would be affected by this zoning proposal. I think that's wrong. I encourage the community to support the airport. The airport does good things for the community, but it doesn't need a $1.28 million project. We don't need parking for aircraft that don't exist. There are not 35 or 36 airplanes at the airport, as alleged in a recent grant application. We don't need additional fuel tanks for fuel storage. Anybody here can do the math in FOIA. There's more than a year's worth of one fuel in storage, and there's 6 or 7 months of another fuel in storage. How can you spend $1.28 million and justify that so that it lowers your fuel cost by 50 cents a gallon or whatever the heck it is. You don't need to provide larger apron spaces for occasional large aircraft that would be inconvenienced by a slight delay. The once a month when a big airplane flies in and they have to fly past or taxi past the fuel tank, there could be, that once a month day, there could be somebody there getting fuel. Let them wait. For $1.28 million, I think they could wait. At the present moment, there appear to be less than 6 Edgar County residents that fly routinely with aircraft stored at the airport. We're not talking about depriving a large section of Edgar County of benefit of an airport. The airport's still open for business. I would like to see this board halt this discussion on zoning just the airport, just for funding, for projects we don't need. I would like to see this county board and this zoning commission look into the buying the credit card machine for your fuel access for everybody, and then let your fuel sales grow to the point you need something. I can think of 25 different ways to spend money better than $1.28 million on something we don't need at an airport. Thank you.
I'm Janie Brown, I'm a citizen of Edgar County, I'm a teacher here, and I too am tired of spending money on a field of dreams, on things we don't need. I teach in the school system and I see kids come to school to have a decent meal. They come to school to get away from the heat because they live in trailers with no windows and no furniture and no flooring on the floor, and so school is an escape. I pay my taxes, I pay them willingly, but I'm tired of paying taxes for things we don't need. I'd like to see our community look at the situations many of these families are in, and every time you spend money on something we don't need, whether it's the airport or something else, you're taking money out of families' pockets that buy food for their families. And some of those families are working and trying to survive. I've got a student that works 35, 40 hours a week and comes to school, and they live in an old trailer with no windows and a blanket over the door in the wintertime, and we're worried about building a runway and expanding an airport for people. The planes aren't even there. So I'm tired of the waste. People are leaving Illinois in droves, and if I could pick up my home and take it with me, I'd gladly move it across the state line to escape some of the waste and the unnecessary spending that goes on here. So I urge you to take some time and look at this seriously and look at what we really need, not what you want. We all know within our own family budgets, we have to budget for what we need, not what we want. I also don't like what was done to the Ferris family. That was wrong. I wouldn't want it done to me, and you wouldn't want it done to you. So you need to make that situation correct before you move forward with this. And then look at the wind farms and everything else that are a potential risk for our county before you pass this and more wasteful spending.
Thank you.
Small comment. Across the state line, Janie talked about moving the ground as she could. Indiana has a $2 billion cash reserve. Illinois got a deficit so big you can't hardly count it. Whenever you folks go for an airport expansion, there's an automatic process that kicks in. If you come up with 5%, the state writes a note for the other 5%. You just add it to Illinois' debt that it doesn't need. The support needs, not wants.
Any other comments? Well, address some of your guys' concerns. I'm not gonna say we're necessarily against this expansion. Is part of zoning potentially, is it gonna happen? We'd like to think so, but it isn't just absolute. At the end of the day, the zoning does need to happen just for maintenance going forward, anything that can help not put the burden solely on the county. And as you said, Rob, 90% of it does come from the federal government. I mean, I like for the federal government at least, I like for some of that Chicago money to come back downstate.
You have to
That's the way it
spend
takes to get it.
5% to get the money. So you have to spend $60,000 on this project to get 1.28 million. And where's the benefit to the taxpayer? What do we get out of it? We get a few people with their land that have already shouldered the burden of the airport, already given up their ground to the airport. Why should they have to carry the whole deal just so the airport can have some federal money for projects they don't need? Because that is what's on the table, the next $1.28 million project. That's what you want, is that funded. This will let you have it if you have airport zoning. I don't agree with that. Countywide zoning, yes, not airport zoning.
No, like I said, I'm just trying to get the zoning, we're trying to get the zoning through here, so we're right again. When I took my check ride as a pilot, if you were wrong, if he told you to turn around a point at 1,500 feet, it didn't matter if you hit 1,400 feet, you didn't fail. It was if you noticed that it was at 1,400 feet and whether or not you fixed it. We're here to fix it. So that's all we're trying to do here is, you know,
But,
we realize
Jay,
that the zoning
You
needs
don't have to
be-
fix it today. You can table this for a year and nothing will change. What do
Well,
you, what's the
fail
damage?
check ride if you don't fix it right away, so we're trying to fix it right away. So I'm just
Why,
saying,
what's the compelling reason for changing?
why put it off for?
No, but
we
why?
put it
So
off
you
this
can
long
get
to
more
that?
project money for an airport that doesn't warrant it?
I suppose, I mean, we're just trying to move forward, this is
Well,
one step.
Can I reiterate that please put it off until we have time, until people have time to research this?
No, like I said, we will try our best to get another one scheduled in a timely fashion. I've got harvest coming up, so I don't know how much I can be involved, so this is like maybe my big hurrah on it, but I'll
We
do
can
my
have a
best.
midnight meeting if we need to.
Huh?
We can have a midnight
Midnight meeting?
meeting.
All right, well, I might take you up on that.
Whatever's convenient.
All right, well, I think 10 o'clock would work.
I would, if we give further, if we provide more, written documentation is what I realize you put together some here, but the next time we have a meeting, maybe provide the proposed resolution that you're gonna provide to the county board at least 15 days prior to the public hearing, so that we can research what you're going to recommend. The statute.
That's something Mark Heiss, he'll have to prepare that. All the
That's
legal
fine.
issues or whatever.
That's
He's
fine.
looking at the preliminary one right now as we speak, this very second. Just- Yeah,
The
that's
propo-
fine, Matt, that's fine.
The proposed resolution needs to be made available 15 days before.
I don't
Yes.
know on your, the county board will have a resolution, if you guys publish them 15 days before, it's just,
It's not required.
it's not required?
We can certainly accommodate if we possibly
Yeah.
can, but there's no requirement to do
Okay.
so.
We get it, it's hard to get everybody together for meetings, I know that, so if you would want, provide a paper there if you want to give us your email address, or we can maybe provide you some of ours with future questions after you get a harder copy, if you will. Maybe we can resolve some of the stuff without having to get everybody together, even if it is, you know, half a dozen concerns. We're trying to work with you here, and, said if we don't have to have another meeting, I'm all for that, but again, if we do, that's just part of it, so.
Well, wouldn't you need everybody's email address then that's here?
Anybody that has concern and wants questions, has questions, you know, we will try to, if anything, if we don't even get back to you on that, at least we can be ready for them at the next meeting.
Why don't you publish the thing?
Okay, if you change nothing in that document that you have, that you put out today,
Right.
you do not have to have another public hearing. You can have another, but you do not have to have, as long as that document that you pass is not changed, okay?
Yeah, we're here to try to work with everybody, so.
I'm just-
We will,
I know you want to
Definitely.
work, but just so you're aware of
and I
that.
think that'd please everybody, maybe if we didn't make any kind of, you know, moves on your guys' map, I think we're trying to pull one over on you, because.
If you could like make a generic email address, we don't need your personal one, but go to Yahoo, make a
Yeah.
airport zoning at Yahoo, and then
Okay.
people can send their suggestions and questions. You can look at it like that, and when zoning's over with, You don't have to worry about people still emailing you 2 or 3 years down the
Yeah.
road.
Yep, absolutely, I think that's a really good idea.
Or the county can probably set up temporary.
You can see the clerk and he can set something.
Could they put it on the county website?
Yeah, that's.
Augie could do that.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
have
and
Ross
whenever-
Stewart on the county.
Yeah.
And whenever you come up with the thing that Mark approves, the final one, you can put it on that, and everybody countywide could look at it.
If you go back to your personal emails, you're.
That's a good idea.
No,
Yeah, good idea. I just don't know Mark's schedule as far as, I mean,
Yeah,
I work
he's-
on him all the time.
He's busy and he can be kind of the slow part of the wheel.
Yeah.
So, no more public comments. Move on to the next part of the,
That's it?
so I mean, we pretty much have talked about it anyway, so.
I guess to summarize, we'll be on Mark Isl's schedule. Once he fine tunes the resolution, we publish it on the website. I'm not sure, where do folks comment on it, though, Jeff? I don't have a website set up where we can see them or,
I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
Well, I think, you know, like I said, I think the county IT guy could set up an email account, Airport Zoning Commission @edgarcountyillinois.com, and then you guys publish that on the website, so we can all go there, after, like tomorrow or the next day, look up where we can send questions and comments.
The document that you have here, the actual ordinance would simply only add verbiage at the top and verbiage at the bottom. The center stuff wouldn't change unless you change it, okay?
right.
All right, I mean, there's the resolution, there's nothing special about that, or the ordinance.
No,
It's just what it contains.
right.
But that copy is what Mark's looking at to see.
Has Mark already commented on that one and given you the changes?
He's commenting, we're still working.
Oh, you're still working?
Okay, so
All right.
he could, after he does more research and
Yeah,
make some changes.
Okay, that's fine,
This doesn't even say what you're saying.
I'm trying to please Mark.
that's fine. I'm just trying to.
He's happy, we're happy.
Right. Okay.
I'm just not sure of his timetable. I'm only pushing so fast. Because the next meeting is Wednesday.
Nothing's gonna happen between now and Wednesday.
Right. Yeah, we talked to him there last week, and
Okay.
he said
Okay,
that's not gonna happen.
We didn't expect the final,
Okay.
all right?
What you saw on the county, the proposed schedule for tomorrow's or Wednesday's meeting was just a placeholder in case everything was lined up, so, which obviously it's not, so.
Yep. So maybe we'll shoot for October or whatever.
Or we can have a special meeting.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
They can always call a special meeting of the board to deal with this specific issue, whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Please give people 15 days notice.
After it's posted on the website.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's,
Yeah, it's
that's
fine.
gonna
Yeah,
allow
it's
for,
fine.
that's gonna allow for due process in law.
Oh, yeah, sure.
You can't expect people to know about it.
I've got a preliminary resolution that he's looking at. I guess I kinda hate to pass that out because.
If it's in the works, it's in
Yeah,
the
it's-
works.
yeah, okay. That's fine.
Well, what's it say on that program? Never mind. I was waiting on it.
That's all I've got. Move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so moved.